Yeah, there wasn't a prepared, thought or statement, because if there was, I don't think it would have been real. And
Sure.
I try to be real and true to our guys, in the moment. And I think we all hurt, we were all sad, and probably a lot of anger that was in there too.
Sure.
Um, but I was just I did tell them how grateful I was for all they had done to put ourselves in that position, because it was one of the most special journeys that you could ever imagine, especially with some of the things that we had to.
So, Coach, I want to start with what was such a story ending that I know so many of our listeners followed relative to Florida State and not being in, of course, the college football playoff after an unbelievable season, after being undefeated. Because at some level, Coach, to me, it was one of the best examples of incredible leadership on your part. Can you tell me a little bit about that moment? What went through your head? All of it?
Well, I mean, you think of the journey, and it's not just a 13-week journey. That was something that was 4 years in the making, and for a lot of those players that have been through the entire process from the first time we got here to being able to put ourselves in that position, and just building that team. I mean, it was really a special group. As one that overcame so much, even throughout the course of the season. Faced some highs, some lows. Obviously great adversity that showed up, and you win the championship game, and that was one of the most probably rewarding victories I've ever been a part of, just for all the outside circumstances that we faced. And then you come back, and you try to put yourself in the best position, to be able to get another opportunity. And obviously that didn't occur in regards to the playoffs. It was extremely disappointing, just outcome. But as I tell players all the time, you don't. The only thing that we can control is us, and the position that we put ourselves in. And I was so proud of everything that our guys accomplished throughout the season. And it was a challenging and disappointing moment. But like I told them, throughout the future, throughout their future and the rest of their life, there's going to be things that come up that are outside of their control that are going to be disappointing. They might not be fair. They might not go the ways that you expect it to. But you get an opportunity to grow, to build, and to respond to it. And as you go through, there were choices that were made, and guys that you had an opportunity to go to the NFL, and all that led up to a bowl game. But it was definitely a challenging time, probably one of the hardest months that I've ever experienced. As a coach, just because you felt for those players. And you go through in sports, you watch it, you always talk about the response, and overcoming the adversity and continuing to believe, continuing to push. And then when that result came out of it, it was just it was tough. And it was definitely a challenge, but also an opportunity for everybody, myself included, to be able to have a chance to grow a little bit.
Sure. And coaches like you, guys like you, in my opinion, sort of you experience those moments, you take it and you learn from it, but you move forward quickly. I'm curious though, in that moment, what was your mindset? And then finding the words to address the guys was, you prepare for everything, coach, right? So get me inside of, as much as you might not want to sort of, at some level, sort of say, you know what, I'd kind of thought that could happen, and here's what I was going to say if it did. Get me inside of that a little bit in your head.
Well, to be fully transparent, I didn't have any you know
Wow.
early thoughts of it, because I just believed that what would happen would come about through what we had done. And it's just what you saw. I know was when everybody was broadcast of what a
Sure.
reaction would be, and what you saw was real. And
Yeah.
it just when you see that you weren't selected, it was a kind of took the breath from everybody. And, I was there with our football team, and, to go from, one of the greatest of highs, I guess 12 hours prior, just winning that championship game, and then to kind of, just to, have, the gut punch of what that was. Obviously, I coach a group of 18 to 22-year-olds, and there's a lot of emotion, and from a 42-year-old, there was a lot of emotion, but I didn't have a prepared thought or speech or anything to give, but as our players reacted, that's part of the great responsibility of leadership is you get to stand up and step out. And, I just always try to lead from my heart, and just to speak what is true and what's real in that moment. And, I stood in front of them and told them what I felt. I told them how much, I appreciated the journey, because what someone's selection does not define, that team and that journey and the experiences that we all had together. I mean, that team will be remembered for a lifetime. And, but, it's just, you try to control the things that you can control, and everybody wants all, as you go through life. But sometimes the circumstances that you're dealt doesn't provide that opportunity. But you still can hold true to who you are and what you're about, and you push and move forward from it. And for whatever that reason was that we had to experience it, whether it's 5 years from now, 10 years, 15, 20, for any individual or even this team or program, we'll look back, and we will have grown from this experience. And but there wasn't a prepared thought or statement, because if there was, I don't think it would have been real. And
Sure.
I try to be real and true to our guys in the moment. And I think we all hurt. We were all sad, and probably a lot of anger that was in there too. But
Sure.
but I was just I did tell them how grateful I was for all they had done to put ourselves in that position, because it was one of the most special journeys that you could ever imagine, especially with some of the things that we had to overcome.
Sure. And Coach, I've heard you talk about recovering from adversity, doing it quickly, how we learn more about people when they're inside of moments that are challenging, how we learn more from them when we watch them inside of those challenges. How much did you lean into that with the guys as a teachable moment at some level, that let's use this to motivate us, let's use this to find out who we really are as a football team, as a unit, as a human being, as a guy, as an athlete? How much did you lean into that relative to your messaging in the spirit of motivation and in the spirit of getting them to move forward?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't, not a whole lot when it comes to the motivation part of it. I think, you could try to dismiss what happened, and, just, you quickly, move forward from it. It was a unique circumstance, and it was something that had never been done in college football. And,
Right.
Obviously there's a lot of different dynamics that are surrounding it. One of the hardest things for me was, we had the announcement, and just with the calendar of what college football is. I mean, I was had that announcement was around 12:15, and at 4:30 I was in a home visit, with a high school recruit that we were signing, and I did two
Yeah.
home visits that night, and I was on the road for essentially the entire next week, until the next weekend. We had we had a couple practices and got together as a team again, but that was probably the hardest thing. And that's one of the things I look back at, and just there's so many different dynamics when it comes to the schedule, but not being able to have the follow up throughout the week. I know, I mean, we were sending messages, trying to have group,
Sure.
almost a group discussion through our team, messaging, and things like that. But it was really tough, and
Yeah.
I felt for the players, and tried to be there with them through it. But also, we always talk about your response, and but it's one of those things that as you go through life, the response that you have in times of adversity, I think, always showcase the truest identity and character of wwho you are and what we're about. And I think when you even look at this team, it's just they showed that through 13 weeks, and
Yeah.
they did that throughout the course of the season. And and there was tough decisions that a lot of guys had to make after that. And you had some guys that didn't play in the didn't play in the bowl game, who I respected their decision. Obviously it was challenging, it was difficult. We had a plan, even with guys that fought through injuries throughout the season, that had surgeries right after the games, and everything was planned if to try to have them ready and available for a playoff run. And even those guys that battled to try to get back for the bowl game, that were just a few days just a few days too early to be able to get back and play. So I mean, it was when you look back at it, it's the responses is was shown throughout that season, and obviously it was a disappointing outcome to a potential opportunity when it comes to compete for a national championship. But I'm proud of that team, and I think it's a team that will forever be remembered as one of the greats in Florida State history. They were able to do some really special things, but I didn't try to use it as just a motivation in the moment, because it was a different circumstance than what really any team's ever had to go through at our level for what they had done and what they'd accomplished. And but moving forward, we can all look back and try to have some semblance of growth, and being able to build upon that experience as we move forward.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and you've probably got an enormous windshield and a pretty tiny rear view mirror, right? Relative to moving forward.
Well, you sit there and you try to always learn from each experience, and try to look at things that you would do better, things that you can grow from. Obviously it all is about the opportunity that's ahead, and the steps that you take, and being able to grow from what you've gone through and what you've been able to accomplish, the good and the bad. And so I think we've all looked at that. I mean, even a couple of weeks ago, you had our guys go through some of the guys that did not compete in the bowl game, went through the NFL Combine, and had unbelievable performances, did an incredible job, and they made the most of what they had done. And I was really proud of those guys for how they've showed up and what they've done in that regards. I mean, coming into this season, the guys that are returning, some of the newcomers that have come in, their approach in the winter program was as good as I've probably ever been around, and just the mindset, the work. I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't think they had an edge about them. I mean, it hasn't taken a whole lot of motivational speeches to get them going. You'll hear it, as we jumped into our winter program. But we're excited about what's ahead, and it's a program that's built on growth, on improvement, and we've been able to do a lot of great things in the last 4 years. But we're just getting started to where we're going, and you do learn from the things that you go through, and we've had some great high moments, and we've had some disappointing outcomes that we've had to overcome. And so now it's just about taking another step as a program.
Yeah, well, and like you said, I mean, it's controlling what you can control, and moving forward, for sure. You hear great coaches talk about that a lot. Coach, relative to your leadership philosophy, and I loved a talk you gave in 2018, and your metaphor relative to climb, your values inside of FSU. What shaped your leadership philosophy?
I've been around a lot of wonderful people that, other coaches, great teammates. I've either played or coached the game of football since I was 5 years old. And, football has really been such an important part of my life because of just relationship. And, so as you work to be an inspiration, to be a support of those that you get to do it around. I've known I wanted to be a football coach since I was in the 7th grade. And some of the most influential people in my life were not blood related to me. They were my coaches. They were people that were willing to invest, willing to pour in more than just a jersey number, more than a position that I played. And it's just I was hopeful to be able to have that impact to those that were around me. And whenever I got a chance to be a part of this wonderful profession, be a part of a team, just grateful for that. And as I always believe that the greatest leaders were action based, and I can't ask our players to do something I'm not willing to do, but we got to show up, and what we desire, what we hope for, you got to show up and work to be an example of that. And so like I even said earlier, it's not about a speech. Anybody can give a speech. Anybody can give a good talk. But how are you going to show up
Yeah,
consistently on a
sure.
daily basis, trying to be the example of what you ultimately desire? And it's a great challenge. It's a great responsibility that I have,
Yeah.
as a head coach, as a leader of a program. But and then it's also about who you do it with. And I try to you surround myself, whether it's with coaches, whether it's with leaders in different departments, whether it's the players that we have. I try to surround myself with like-minded individuals, and and every day we get to pour into each other. And you through that, it's that inspiration, it's the encouragement, it's the
Yeah.
accountability. All those things show up, and I tell our players all the time. Sometimes I need their example, to be able to maybe pull me through something that we're going through. But leadership is action based, and we try to show that on a daily basis, and you push and you sometimes pull each other, moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Well, and you had a unique. I mean, you took a gap year as a student, as an athlete, as a football player at some level, which is pretty unique, right? And then you're an assistant coach at the high school at 17 or 18 years old, I think. And
Yeah.
sort of revving your engines. I'm sure you were just grinding it with a little creatine and in the weight room getting bigger, I know, as, to show back up. Tell me a little bit about that vision that you had. Where did it come from to coach? Where did that, because there's an enormous amount of belief that clearly lived inside of you relative to your journey and your wife's support, certainly inside of that. What was it that inspired you? How did you know that was what you wanted to do? How did you know that was your purpose at some level, where you felt most, called to serve in the world, if you will?
Yeah, no, it was my heart, and I poured everything I had into this game, and as a young, like I said, I mean, I going back as long as I can remember. I just love this game. I love the camaraderie. I love the challenge. I love the change of it on a weekly basis, and then from year to year, just every part of it. But I'd started I started school really early, and I was a 16-year-old senior. I wanted to play college football. That was my I wanted to play this game as long as I could play it. I think I was 145 pounds or something. Going when I finished going through my senior year. So I knew if I wanted to have a chance, to physically be able to go and try to capitalize on that time. I mean, I needed to grow, and so I actually talked to the school, the high school, to my coaches, and I was really close with my high school head coach, and I would stay with him a few nights a week, and we'd kind of game planned the thought of coming back and being around for another year. So I actually took classes. I was in high school for that fifth year. Took classes, stayed in school, but every morning I'd get up and I'd go and train, and started. I can't even remember. It was 5 o'clock in the morning. I'd go work out before every day. Nutrition, trying to do things necessary. But then because I was out of eligibility, I got a chance to start coaching, and at the school that I was at. I got a chance to work with the junior high age, team. I was actually the offensive coordinator for the junior high team. I coached receivers, defensive backs, there with the high school, and I just loved it. I thought it was a wonderful experience for me, especially when I was working with the junior high age, because that was something of really truly teaching. Because I'm 16, or actually 17 at the time,
Right.
but being able to try to connect and to get a response out of something I'm not that much older than, but
Right.
it was you really learn the challenge of what focus and communication was, and it was such a great year for me. And physically I grew up and developed, and had an opportunity to go play college football, and for what that time was. But there was I didn't have a backup plan. I mean, and for the longest, I thought, I wanted to be a high school head coach. That was what I felt was my calling, just to be able to make that impact, to be able to, to be around, players as they were growing up, in it. But, really when I went to college is where, kind of my eyes open to just really what the challenge of those years in college really are all about. And
Sure.
when you leave home for the first time, when you have to go and you have to make decisions that are going to impact the rest of your life, and not going home to see your mom or your dad or whoever that guardian was, but really having to depend on the values and the expectation and really the accountability of whatever program you're in. I saw that. I saw the priority of that. I saw the importance of that when it comes to helping guys that are in those college age years to putting them in the best position for what their future could be. And so I think it was like my sophomore year in college. I mean, a few experiences that I saw, and I just saw the importance of a coach. And and that's where I'd kind of changed my perspective, and I wanted to get into the college game, and I really tried to pour that into the values that we operate when as a program. We still do it now. Is we try to set up a structure, a standard and accountability for guys when this first time that they're away from home, and are we providing that foundation and continuing to support them for who they're going to be, not just what they do as a player, but who they're going to be as a man, and try to help them set up for their future and their career. And it's just really been a great driving force. You mentioned my wife Maria. We've been married. We actually got married my last year that I was in college, and so we've been married for 19 years now. And her support and her encouragement, her belief, I mean, has really been one of the things that's helped guide my career. I don't know, there were some early opportunities that I thought were just the next step and what you should do as a young coach trying to get in. But I mean, her belief and encouragement to even continue to pursue the harder route. And whether it was I was a GA, I had a couple full-time opportunities, but to continue with the harder route of being a GA, going to the University of Tulsa, as a GA when I passed up on some full-time positions, just some of those decisions that not many would probably take, but her belief in what it could be, her belief in me was something that was really big in opening doors that I'd maybe even at the root of it didn't know could be our reality. And so definitely grateful for her support along the path that we've been on.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, I always think it's incredibly important for people at your level to have people around you who want nothing other than the best version of you to show up. Nothing other. They don't want anything but for you to show up as the best version of yourself. And they want to wake up every day in service of that and have absolutely no agenda but to support that. And it sounds like Maria is certainly an incredible part of that, no question about it. How did you get, when I think back to sort of as such a young guy, right, flipping the script from the guy that was walking down the hall, closing a locker next to these guys, and now you're standing in front of them as their leader. And then, I think about when you took the FSU job, kind of in a COVID year, 2020, and then you step into that role. How do you think about, at some level, getting the athletes to trust you, to believe in you, to respect you, and then in turn to follow you? What is your mindset around that? What is your methodology at some level around that? Beyond the obvious coach of leaning into the core values and purpose and mission. I think how you do that.
Yeah, those are all great words, and it's the drive and desire of all coaches. Everybody talks about trust, respect, right. But I mean those are hard to earn things, and those are I don't. It's consistency. It's how you show up. It's how you walk through the door. It's we talk about those values, which it has to start there. And every coach, every organization, you probably have core values that are put up on a wall or talked about in a notebook. And we have ours. I mean, it's service, it's sacrifice, it's respect. And as we go through, I try to paint the picture of how we try to live that out, because once again, it still goes back to action. You can have the greatest values, the greatest mission statement, but if there's not action, if there's not things that you can see and feel on a daily basis, and it's not real. And I've got to be the greatest example of that as the head coach, as a leader, the people that I put in position and put around me. I mean, we've got to we've got to be able to live that out in an applicable way for those that we get to be around, for the players, for the support staff, and that's what I love about it. It's because I've never asked one team, I've never asked one player to ever trust me. I've never asked for that. I just ask for the opportunity to show that I'm trustworthy. And I've tried to build that respect on a daily basis by what I do. And it doesn't mean you're not going to make a mistake. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have a challenging or tough moment. And part of building respect is the admission and the vulnerability to things that when it maybe doesn't go the way that you want it to, or maybe when you have a disappointing outcome, or a failure in your path of what it is, being open and transparent. I think you build that respect, and as you build respect, as you show up and you do that on a consistent basis, then you start to earn trust. And that's what we try to be able to do, and it starts from the very first day, whether it's in at the college level in the recruiting process. I try to build that throughout the process of how we recruit somebody, of the message, the expectation, being able to paint the picture, and then from day one to throughout the course of their career, and even beyond that, what does that relationship look like? What is it built upon? And so it still comes down to the actions. And as a coach and as a leader, we try to create and build opportunities for us to develop that respect, and to earn that trust in what and how we operate and what we do. But it's definitely I think the greatest challenge, but it's one of the biggest responsibilities we have as leaders.
Yeah. What do you do? So when I think about what you're saying, which I love, totally agree with, right, relative to the way we show up, what we do, what are some of the things, Coach, that you do relative to living into those values, relative to your metaphor of climb, commitment, little things, intensity, toughness, brotherhood? Can you get me inside of the way that shows up from an action perspective in your life?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with our structure of, we try to structure everything within the program to allow people to have success. From when we practice, we here in Florida State in the fall semester, we practice in the mornings. So we start our day together, and it is one of the things that whether it's we're gonna have. I can tell you right now, we're gonna have a 7:15 special teams meeting. All right, on Tuesday, Wednesday. Every week, on Fridays, we're just about 15 minutes later, but we're gonna go through each day starting together. Whether it's, if you're a newcomer, you're gonna have 6 a.m. lift. We got our guys that with athletic training and rehab, and obviously all the things that they're doing there. But how are you walking in the door? Right. I try to put myself before every special teams meeting. I'm 15 minutes. I'm standing in the lobby. I'm welcoming. I'm encouraging. I'm trying to get the mindset, because I believe there's a lot that a great sense of seeing it in people's eyes. And I wasn't just the biggest morning person whenever I was growing up. I talked about some of the things that I did. Right. Even as a high school senior, waking up at that time, I didn't want to do that. Right, that wasn't something that I was excited about, but it was a necessity. And I believe that challenging yourself sometimes to act different than you feel. All right, we're all going to have hard days. We're going to have challenging moments. But if you can come through the door and every day be the same person, be that same person for those that are around you, it doesn't mean the experiences are always going to be the same. It doesn't mean the circumstances are going to be the same. But the mindset and the approach of trying to give your best. Right, we talk about the climb. It's about the one step. It's about the one day. It's about the one opportunity. And then, are you willing to focus on going to be better, right? Being your best. Yeah. Because anybody can focus on you hear a lot of things, and we talk about the incremental improvement. We talk about the small gains that we want to see, but it also goes back to that standard. And our standard is excellence, which is our best every day. So can I get myself into that mindset, that approach, whether it's at 6 o'clock in the morning or whether it's at 9 o'clock at night? And I mean, our guys around here, they'll tell you, I don't care when the meeting is. It might be afternoon, evening, early in the morning. I'm gonna come into a meeting. I'm gonna say good morning. I'm gonna yell it to the top of my lungs. Awesome. And it's a mindset. It's just I don't like the mornings, but you know what? Today's a good morning. We're going to push to be the best that we can be, right? No matter what I have going on around me. And can we be that for each other? And, if it's just, bringing a smile to a young man's, your face, bright and early when maybe he doesn't want to be there. Maybe he doesn't want to practice that day. Maybe he's got an issue going on with his family or a loved one. That's all real. And those are all real life things that we have to go through. But can they get a sense of the consistency of who we're going to be, of how we're going to do it, of trying to be there for them in the moment? And, we started at the beginning of this podcast, talking about the decision of the committee, and we were left out. But I can't let that decision affect, right, my approach to how I come to work and, what I try to do and how I try to pour in, because, it's a different age in college athletics. You got the transfer portal, you got NIL, you got all these different factors that are out there. But ultimately, it's still about who you get to do it with. And I tell our coaches all the time, we still have to be willing to put everything we have into it. We got to be willing to be hurt. Right? Because sometimes things are not going to go the way that you want it to go. And it's human nature that, if you build a relationship and whether, somebody leaves, somebody doesn't play, somebody, whatever happens, it doesn't go the way that you want. The immediate human nature reaction is to pull back, is to not pour in, is to, kind of protect yourself. But I'm totally against that. I want, you pour everything that you have into it. You give all that you can. You try to be that for those that are around you. And you know what? If you get hurt, if you get knocked down, if those things happen, it's all real and it's all been to the best that you can be, and you get up and you go try to get better. And that is our focus on the climbs. Everybody wants to get to the top. That's not, but all people want to try to push and aspire to be the best, and it still comes down to one step. And so whether it's the time of when we set up, meetings to the mindset, to the expectation, to what we're willing to do for each other. Throughout the course of each day, we try to build in opportunity from whether it's how we do things, always being able to try to explain why we do them. To build that respect and to earn that trust for the operation and what we're doing within the program.
Well, and it's so interesting, as I'm listening to you, I mean, you're an unbelievable leader. You love those guys, man. I mean, you love those guys, and you love the game of football. Football has changed your life at some level, and I've heard you talk about how from the age of 5 and how much you respect the game, how much you appreciate the game because what it's given you. But you've also had so many coaches that have played such an instrumental role in your life, from a young boy, and I actually had Gus Malzahn on when he was the head coach at Auburn, who I know gave you some opportunities. But I'm curious, relative to, you love the game of football and you love pouring into these guys. If you had to think about which one you love more, how do you think about that, Coach? Because you love both and you pour into these guys in an environment where it's tough with the NIL portal, as you said.
Yeah. Well, I can say this. If you took relationships out of football, I wouldn't be a coach. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I love the X's and O's, and I mean, it is something that, all of this, the schematic parts of it. But I get as much joy, trying to put our guys in a position to be successful, to see them go achieve because of all the other things that we do. Because I do believe the more you pour into a young man, and who they are and what they're aspiring to be, the more they're probably going to listen, and the more that they will trust the things that you're asking them to do, when it comes to what they're going to do in between the white lines. And, if you can pour that much in, they might listen to you just that much better when you ask them to use a proper technique or a fundamental, or if you're trying to do something with them schematically. I mean, that's what this is all about for me. And, I don't picture it as two separate. I picture it as one. But if you didn't, if the relationship's not there, then I don't think I would have the drive, or just the excitement about what I get to do. And yes, when it comes to the schematics, so I love that too, but it's because of how I get to see those guys go and perform and have success because of the relationships that's been built.
Mm-hmm. Coach, how do you do that inside of the world that we're in right now in college sports, right? With the NIL, with the transfer portal. I mean, it is a different dynamic. How do you build a culture with the ability for guys to hit eject? How do you coach hard with the ability for guys to hit eject? Get me inside of that relative to the way you approach it in an environment where it's different than when you played. It's different than when a lot of coaches today competed at that level.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, I've had a lot of coaches and really people on the outside is like, they ask that question. It's like, well, do you pull back? Do you have to coach their? I coach the exact same because it's still about them. It's still about the players, the journey, the experience. Every player wants to grow. They want to push. I mean, they want to be better and be able to try to live out the best version of them. And yes, with the transfer portal, they can leave. That's a reality. But I also believe that how we do things, the relationships that are built, the growth that they can have and that they see, it's something that's going to hold us together. And then when you put together a team, whether it's coaches, whether it's players, like I said, you look for those like-minded individuals, and we try to be very transparent of what we're looking for, of what is kind of required to come be a part of this program. But when you find like-minded individuals, yes, we all have a different path. Everybody has a different path to how they got here. But when you come together with like-minded, people that understand an expectation, that understand the kind of the philosophy and the approach of what we're here ultimately trying to do, they grow together through time. They grow through it together through experience. And that's my, like I said, that comes to the most enjoyable thing about my job is every year you're putting together a team. And whether you do it the old traditional way, and every 3 or 4 years players are going to be going out, they're going to be going to the draft, they're going to be going to you're finishing eligibility, you got a new group coming in. Now it is just at a kind of a it can be at a more accelerated or even at a bigger pace. But we're, even when you look at how we've recruited, we've got about 65% of our guys that we sign come from the high school ranks. About 35% come from as transfers. So a lot of different paths that join our team, but the mindset, the characteristics, the things that we're looking for, it still all holds true. And you still see these guys come together at different stages and different points in their career, and you work to build a family, you work to build that trust, you work to build all those things that are a necessity in having a team. But you just got to be true to it. And if I change every day on how I coach somebody, or if I'm not pushing them to be the best that they can be, then when something goes bad, they're probably going to leave, because they're going to believe that they can find something different or better. If we're giving them all that we have, we would try to be very transparent, try to be very honest in where they are, their situation, their circumstance. And then, there are times that, guys come to me and said, I think I need to look at a different opportunity. And I don't necessarily disagree with them if they're looking only for a couple certain things. If they're down the depth chart, maybe they're not getting on the field as much as possible, or as much as they think that they should. There might be opportunities, and we've seen some great success stories come from that too, of guys that have left, and obviously we've had great success on the guys that have come in. So it's really just trying to find that mindset and then being open, honest, and pouring all that we have into these guys.
But at some level though, it's anchored in the human being. It's not anchored in the jersey and the number on his back and what he can do for you on the field. At some level, it's anchored in who he is and how you can pour into him the way so many coaches poured in, to you, coach. And it makes me think about when I was a sports agent, one of my clients was John Smoltz, and Smoltz was a guy who could have gone to a lot of different clubhouses and played, pitched in a lot of different places, but opted at some level early in some opportunities to stay because he loved that locker room. He loved that clubhouse. He loved Bobby Cox. He loved playing for him, in part because of so much of what you're sharing relative to the way that you lead and show up. So these guys love you and they want to play for you and for each other.
Well, it's still an open, it's a accelerated path to what the rest of their life is going to be. because for the rest of your life, you're going to have to make decisions based off of different circumstances. Sometimes it might be a job that pays more money or in a different place or a different location, but everything matters. And one thing I try to, whether it's players, coaches, because it's no different with assistant coaches, as they go through their path, you look at the opportunity that you have. Do you one, enjoy who you get to do it with? Do you feel like you're growing, you're being developed? Do you love, who you get to be a part of the journey with? I mean, all those things, go into the decision. And then, there's going to be new opportunities. There's going to be another job one day. There's going to be a decision that you have to make in your life that's going to affect your family, your loved ones, all those. Well, sometimes the biggest paycheck might not be the best situation for you. And, to be able, the willingness to say no, I think is one of the greatest traits that you can grow into, as you're, whether it's as a leader, because there's plenty of times that, flashy things look good, but it might not be best. And it's the same thing as we look at in recruiting. We all desire this size, this speed, this ability, the physical traits. But you could take all the physical traits in the world. If you leave this thing out of it,
yeah,
I mean, it's only going to take you so far. But when you can find the best of all those that you're comfortable with, that you can pour all that you have into, then you're going to get I'd say the greatest result of what that opportunity can provide. And so I think it is a coach now is as much a necessity to pour into the individual as ever before, because there are options, because there are things in it. It is easy to leave. It is easy to go. But I think when you have that true foundation of growth for the individual, and we have a special opportunity here at Florida State too, just to what you get to be around, and obviously all things within our program. It can be very rewarding as well.
yeah, for sure. It's interesting because you, at some level, to me, I've heard you talk about drive, and you have an enormous amount of drive, and you just talked about it, right? Like talent, at some level, will get you somewhere, wherever that might be, but drive is what's going to keep you going, right? And you think about the level of drive, coach, that you have inside of you is uncanny, right? When we think about who you are and your childhood and the way you've navigated moments and opportunities, and the kid that got up at 5 to go grind it, who at some level loves the grind. You love to wake up and get better. That isn't always the case with people. I'm curious where that drive came from.
I'm blessed with opportunity, and good Lord's put me in a position to whether it was then or now, to have a chance to. And the only thing that I would say sparks that drive a day is I don't want to regret. I don't want to look back and have any regret that I didn't capitalize on being the best that I could be, and to maximize. There's plenty of people out there in the world that don't necessarily get the opportunity that I've been provided. And I think I've worked hard to earn all opportunities, but still you have to, when the door's open, you got to walk through it, and then what you do with it is so very important to me. And if I can give everything that I have, even in the mistakes, even in the successes, if I can give everything that I have, if I can be there all that I have in the moment, and then continue to push to get better, then those that I get that surround me, those that I get to do it with, I mean, really regardless of the result, I'm not going to regret what I had to go through, or what we got to accomplish, good or bad, because of the investment. And that's just that daily push. And like I said, God's blessed me with an opportunity, and I want to capitalize on that to the best that I can on a daily basis, and to be able to be a positive impact and influence for those that are around me.
And he has blessed you with incredible opportunities. But I think about Mike as a middle schooler, as a high school guy, the guy that was breaking down film, the guy that was raising his hand with the coach, that was asking for what he wanted, the guy that at some level, it appears at a young age, said, I don't want any regrets in my life, which is really unique at that age. Where did that come from?
I just I can't point to necessarily just one spot other than just I've been around people that have invested in me, that have you as coaches, as teammates, and I just don't uh, just want to try to take advantage of that investment. And like I said, I knew I wanted to be a coach because if one day I can look, if my players can look at me like I look at my coaches, I will know I've done a job that's worth doing. And if I can just give all that I have, in whatever it is, as a father, as a husband, as a coach, as a friend, as leading a program. I mean, just go pour it all in. And then really whatever the result might be, you have given it all, and you're not going to look back and wish or hope that other things, or that you would. I mean, sometimes it's just like the situation with the playoff last year. I don't have any regrets for what we poured into last season. I can be sad, I can be hurt that whatever that the result wasn't ultimately what we wanted, but I know what that team did, and I could stand in front of them. I can always stand in front of them being proud of what we were able to accomplish because of investment, because of growth, because of who all came together. And now we get an opportunity to go get better from it. And that's still, from a young age to where I am now, I don't think it's changed a whole lot. It's just trying to capitalize on opportunity, and I think that also keeps you humble in where you are, because there's an appreciation for the opportunity that you have and who you get to do it with.
Yeah, no question about it. It's amazing when I think about Coach, your season last season, and I lost my train of thought, Coach, just for 1 second. I was thinking about something else. I want to just quickly shift gears real quick, and I think about last season, or I think about some of the conversations that were happening, Coach, relative to Alabama. And you talked about shiny objects and choices and all those things that come at us in life, right? Is there anything you can tell me about maybe what you took away from that?
I just, I've always believed that you follow your heart, and any time that you have, um, you whether it's things to look at, or situations, or opportunities, you follow your heart, and there's a peace in those decisions, or there's a peace in just what you do, and what you get to be a part of. And I mean, I am so very excited about what we have here, and what we've say built here at Florida State, and I'm excited about what the future holds. There's been we've poured our hearts into it, and I get to do it with great people, wonderful administration, wonderful players that have chose to come here, and continuing to build where we're going. And it's definitely grateful for the opportunity, and excited for all things that are ahead.
Well, when you do what you do the way you do it, your phone's going to ring, right? And then Maria's going to be the one that sits down at the dinner table and says, no, 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 here's what we're going to do, right? It sounds like that's a little bit. No, I'm kidding. So, Coach, we end with rapid fire. I'm going to hit you with some quick ones. You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a consistent morning or evening routine?
Yes, I'm consistent in my routine.
What is your morning or evening routine?
I get up in the morning. Each morning I try to start off in the Word. Just trying to bring a good message in. Getting my mind focused of what's ahead. I usually try to get a quick workout in, depending on day. What I do, but it's always pretty structured. And then and I get rolling with the start, depending on time of year of where we're going to be. But that's usually how I start it, and then try to end each night. Finishing in the Word, connecting with Maria, being able to have that time just for us, that, regardless of what we've experienced, or regardless of where we are, we would try to have a connection at the end of each night, whether we're together or apart, just being able to be together.
Yeah. What's the best piece of leadership advice you've ever received?
Oh, be true to who you are. I remember when I was when I first got here. I'd been a head coach at Memphis, but I did get a chance to meet Coach Bowden. And I remember when he came in the office, it was a really special experience for me. And he slapped me on the back, and he told me he was excited about the future, what the future was going to hold. But he looked at me and just said, be true to you, and be true to the things that you believe in, and the things that help get you to this point. And it always stands out to me. And I've had great coaches that have kind of poured that in, but that was definitely just a great reinforcement to hear that from a man that did it here for so long and was so very successful.
I bet. What's a book that's had the greatest influence on you, Coach?
I've had a chance to read quite a few. We actually read a book as a team every year, and
Cool.
I think Atomic Habits is one that I really love. I mean, it just that's it's a great one. Make Your Bed by Admiral McRaven is one that we actually read as a team that was really good. Just process driven, opportunity and growth. And I've got quite a few that I like to.
I bet. So the show's called Game Changer. So one last question: who or what is a game changer who inspires you, and why?
Oh, I've had so many. I think of my coaches, whether it's my little league coach David Reese, who didn't have to make the investment that he did. When I was a 8, 9, 10-year-old little boy that was falling in love with the game. He played a big part of that. And I'd stay at his house. He had 2 young kids, 2 young boys, but he still invested in me. And more than a jersey number, more than a position, he still comes to our games, now. And he was a game changer early in my life. I've had some great coaches, growing up and throughout. Whether it's, Mike Barber was a coach of mine, in high school. My college coaches. I've just been around a lot of wonderful men that helped build me to the man that I am now.
Yeah. And now you've flipped the lens at some level. I know you still learn from those incredible guys, but boy, now you're pouring into so many young men too, just like they poured into you. Coach, thank you so much. This was awesome.
Well, I really appreciate you having me on. I hope you have a great rest of the week, and go Noles.
Go Noles, baby.